2-1.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. But yeah, I like that transition. It's beautiful. Hello, how are we all? There's 115 of you all in here, which is awesome to see. So, no, we're not doing cams today. I think all of us in some variation are sick. And I've just woke up and nobody wants to see my hair as a mess, so we're not doing cams today. We've got a bunch of pretty much everybody and everybody. That's why it's so late today. And the fact that it's my morning, your evening. I think it's, what time is it in the UK?
1 a.m.
1 a.m. So that's not too bad, to be fair. It's a bit later for the Americans as well, but fuck them. So we got a bunch of new faces in here for the community meeting. There's a reason behind that. We'll kind of cover on the agenda and such as we go along. But we've got the full management team, and we've got the lovely Dan in here as well to show some things off. So I'm going to go through some stuff, kind of address some individual teams, address some changes that we've made, kind of recap a couple of things. I know Charlie's got a couple of things that we've got to go through from the last meeting, and then we're going to show off some goodies, which is always good. So in terms of everybody else, just make sure everyone's here so they can all talk. You can all say hello now. You don't need to hide away.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? Nice to see you all.
And we do have Dan, but I don't know if he said hello.
Hello. Hello.
There we go.
Hello, I'm also here.
Oh yeah, we got
Jessica's
this.
here.
Yeah, we got this strange Jisk guy, but I don't know why he's here. He just kind of showed up, if we're honest. But
I was told.
Beautiful. So, yeah, it's been a while since we've had a community meeting. I know that we're kind of wanting to make them a lot longer in terms of frequency. Sorry. So before, where we just kind of did one every now and then whenever we felt like it. The general consensus now is we're going to do one a month. So you guys are all looped in on everything coming in. We're a lot more engaging with you guys and making sure that we can kind of feed back a lot of things. If we don't do it every month, it'll probably just be every other month. So it will be a lot more frequent rather than just us waking up at 2 a.m. going, "Hey guys, we haven't had a community meeting in about 3 years." So, but the main thing is obviously we love the community engagement and actually talking to you guys. So it's always good. Good luck keeping up with that. Yeah, I'll probably just be tired all the time, but it's okay. Nobody needs to clip it for proof. Let's not go down that route. I still don't have my tattoo, so clips don't work. But yeah, we'll try our best to do them. We just want to have a lot more frequent updates, and you guys actually get to hear our voice, which is good. Because a lot of us, we're not always around 24/7, and from my shit posting and random stuff here and there, you don't really speak to us or myself or anybody really. So we make it happen, and then hopefully we can go forward from it. So we'll kick this off. Charlie and myself generally just going to be talking for a little bit, and then we've got a nice little agenda coming up where all of us are going to be talking. So I'll just kind of give you the exciting parts. Is we're going to talk about the criminal updates. We're going to talk about some cool housing stuff. Dan's going to have a little natter to you, which is nice. Charlie and Golden are going to talk about certain things, and then you get to hear the lovely Leo's voice in relation to some banking things as well, which is always good. I know a lot of people love hearing Leo talk.
Don't rob my bank, please.
We will run subtitles underneath Leo's section as well, so that you guys understand what he's saying. So you should be all okay.
That's right.
But he did just say, "Don't rob his bank." So just be careful. Right, Charlie.
So for our last community meeting, we had done a Google form where we collected some information from you guys, and I wanted to touch base on that again, just so that you could be reminded that we didn't just ignore or forget this. So some of the things that were touched upon in that feedback was crim updates. And that's a big thing. So Golden and Leo and the team have been working on several different things that they're going to be bringing in. In fact, the St. Denis Bank heist kind of came from that feedback and has been partially put into place. I don't know if anyone successfully robbed it yet. We will see. But there's going to be significantly more things for you guys to do. And it's going to be all sorts of different things from changing to how robberies work to adding in new little things that you're going to have to balance. But Golden is going to go through that in much greater detail. The other thing is communication. So we have been adding in more podcasts. We've been adding in more touch points for you guys to connect with management as well as senior staff. I've been doing a few of these. Oaks has been doing a couple of just random pops-ins in the voice channel. So we are trying to increase the engagement between staff and the community because we do want to strengthen that relationship. We are implementing a lot more quality of life updates. I don't know if you guys noticed, we used to go a couple months without touching anything. Now we're having a lot more, we're having things pulled out a lot faster so that we are engaging with you more. The quick suggestions channel came back. No, we will not add threads because people get into too many arguments. But the quick suggestion channel is back. As much as we all wanted to beat Leo when he put that in without telling us because our phones blew up like crazy. But please do use that for short suggestions. What we do with that is I go through typically like every week and I capture all the ones that have high votes and we bring them back to management and we go through them, and you'll see quite a few of them do end up in the quality of life updates. I know that the econ team watches it like a hawk too, and they go through and they take all of the ones that you want to increase stack sizes or decrease weights or things like that. They bring those back and those also get implemented. So keep those coming. If you have the more complex one, please still use the website. We do also still look at those so that like we're not ignoring that, but just keep communicating with us and we will in turn keep communicating with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of quick suggestions that are getting thrown in there that are being repeating and such as well. So you'll see that, we're not really reacting to every single one or offering replies to every single one because, the channel itself is called Quick Suggestions, and there is kind of a tendency to put in, full feature length suggestions which can stay on the website. So, one of the things we need to kind of remember with the channel is just, hey, as long as it's quick and something that we, can easily implement on a dime, that's going to be a lot better. Like I'm looking here now, and there's one here that says, "Let me pet cats." That's like a perfect suggestion. Like we should all be able to pet cats. So developers, get on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add on to this with the quick suggestions. It's essentially a source for quality of life updates. So if you notice, we have like the intermittent updates between like 0.7 and 0.8. We'll have these quality of life things. The implementation of those is never really feature full additions. So stuff like, what Shally said, fixing weights, or, being able to sell motor joints to locals, or, I don't know, adding an animation. Stuff that can take maybe 10, 15 minutes to implement for us, and it can fit into a quality of life update, then that's great. Because the suggestions and quick suggestions that are like, create a full system that allows me to do X, Y, and Z, it's like those will get skipped. Even if they have high votes, we won't tend to take them on and create them. That's more for the larger updates, 0.9, 1.0, and so on. But yeah. Back to you, Ox.
And one of the other things, in terms of engagement is for those, I'll kind of give a brief insight into the staff expectations. So do a little bit of staff leaking here. So I'll be banned by the end of this call. But one of the things that we really select on, and me and Charlie have kind of worked really heavily on, is kind of making sure that our staff are really engaging with the community. So you can have like the best application in the game, in the server towards the application, towards staff apps. But if you've got minimal community engagement, then we don't really care. So we want people like who are actively in the community, and that doesn't even mean like not like trolling and stuff like that. But if you're happily there, like typing away, having a chat with people, and going away, and so on and so forth, then you're always gonna have a better standing in terms of joining the staff team than somebody who just I can do a lot of work, blah blah blah. Because realistically, Ranch was built very much on community engagement. Like I'm sure we all remember me dancing around in a Hulk Hogan costume at 150 players. And that's kind of where we want to be at again. We want to make sure that everything is community engaged, and it's not to say that everything is going to be community though, because I don't want to sound too mean, but some of the stuff that we come across or is suggested to us just don't really fit the bill of the kind of the server that we want. A real example is when you take cocaine, you get like 300 HP, which realistically it does, from a game point of view, sure, but from like our server point of view, absolutely not. Like it's just too RPG like. It's a bit so we're always looking at like different ways to kind of implement those that fit our bill. So having a health increase but it rapidly decreases, blah blah blah, to avoid cocaine, all that kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. So so in terms of community engagement and such, it's very at the core of where we want to be. We really want to make sure that we can have you guys voting and engaging on everything again. I remember the pregnancy vote was a very good community engagement. A lot of people had their input on that. With that being a wild topic, it was understandable that there would be a lot higher engagement than usual. But if we use that as an example, that's the kind of engagement that we're looking for from the server. We want to make sure that you guys are there, like you're the forefront of the community, and it's not just Oak said this is happening, Leo said this is happening, Golden said this is happening, Charlie said this is happening, etc etc. Like we just want to make sure that we're taking your ideas, going with them, and if they're not the best ideas, then we won't implement them, etc. But that's what it is. It's all about making sure that we bring you guys in, a lot better than we have done before. So in terms of this, I'm sure many of you guys have interacted with the following two teams that I'm going to discuss. So especially the law role players at the moment. I'm sure you've all kind of interacted with Bird, Benny, Chi, and the rest of the LFM team as well. LFM have kind of been, really focused on the idea of forming the sheriff's office into one government, into one law department. Sorry. Personally, I think it's probably the best iteration of law we've ever had. I think the kind of ideas that we've got in there and the people that are running with things is awesome. It still makes me chuckle that Kimber's kind of running around as Kimber, and now he's a big boy, and he's doing good things. But at the same time, it was a very monumentous task. I think a lot of sleepless nights for the guys. I think a lot of stressful nights for the guys. I'm pretty sure Bird's going bald now because of it. But incredibly proud of the team to make the things happen. There's a lot of back end organization as well from Chi. I think Chi did about 60,000 threads to make sure everything was kind of going off, to make sure everything was kind of firmly planted. So there was a huge task, and the guys have done really well. And I think this iteration as well is, for those who don't know, LFM's been through like 6 different teams since we launched. We've kind of stripped it out many times, and I always worry from the staff management point of view is if we have a team, is it going to perform what we need it is? Do they understand the tasks at hand? And the current iteration of them are fucking fantastic, honestly. Like it's really well done, and yeah, really happy with them. So in terms of what they did for MSO, it's kind of funny how it happened. Me and Golden just woke up one day and just said, yeah, we want one department. Like we think it's going to be better. Didn't really give them too much to go off on, and here we are. So it's always good. And then On the flip side, we've restructured CRM as well. So LFM and CRM are kind of bouncing off each other now, which is awesome. The biggest thing is we wanted to make sure criminals and law are working in tandem rather than, crim bad, law bad, and then teams can't clash in. Because at the end of the day, the last thing we need is the same arguments that happen in our old suggestions thread coming through into the staff team. So we've kind of got a lot more interaction between the two teams, and a lot of people are speaking with each other a lot more, which is really good. STPD, I'll be honest, STBTD was awesome. I completely agree with you guys. I didn't play, unfortunately, so I didn't know what the changes happened there, but hopefully we can see a reiteration of it in the future. We'll see. But touching back, there's a lot of communication between the teams now. There's a lot of people taking on board a lot more feedback from the community, and that's the thing that me and Charlie have driven for, is ensuring that the community are the first and foremost first step into any major changes. So we've also done the same for criminal roleplay management as well. What did I say? SPD TD? Did I really say that?
SPD P.
What did I say?
SP.
STD.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But before you go into CRM, we also want to give, the leads of these teams a chance to have a chat and maybe express their side of what they think's going well and what they think's maybe not going well. So whilst we're on LFM, I'm going to drag in Benny to maybe have a few words. Hello, Benny.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
So we're just
hi, everybody.
Yeah, having a chat on LFM. You're one of the leads.
So I heard. So I'm one of the leads. Also, Bird is one of the leads. Bird, as he's welcome to come and join if he would like to come and pop in and say a few things as well. I know he's out there listening. I just wanted to kind of touch base with a few things that are going on with LFM, and just kind of give you guys kind of an update and to kind of put forth sort of Bird and I's vision of things continuing moving forward. The MSO project was a huge project, condensing everything down, getting things set up and moving, that took a lot of people across a lot of different mediums working together. And it's been only 2 months now. It feels like it's been a lot longer since that project was finished, but it's been about 2 months. There's still things we're ironing out. There's still things that we're working on. We're making progress every day. To be completely transparent, Bird and I have always done everything we can to be as transparent as possible with any decisions that we make or why we do things or why we go the directions we go. The fact is that we have become a little bit more strict and stringent on specific things because we feel that a lot of the systems have been placed to be used pretty well. We have a lot of good systems in place with the new menu, with law practices and things of that nature. So we've kind of cracked down a little more on if there's something that's going wrong or if there's rule breaks or anything of that nature. So there is some of that stuff we're still ironing out. But every day is a big progress. In the next few weeks, we're going to be putting out polls about a lot of different stuff going on with LFM. We want to get a community discussion much like this, but solely around LFM topics. Things like penal code, punishments, bail, parole, civ life. Truly get an idea of how people are feeling, what are some issues the community's having, and have a bigger discussion about it. Because one of the things that oftentimes working on an admin team that we forget is that we are a team of 40 to 50 people that are thinking and trying to make decisions for 12,000, and sometimes you forget that there's 12,000 people in the Discord that can have an opinion, that can bring something to the table, that can show you a different way you may not think about it. So we want to open that discussion up to the community in the coming weeks and have that. Crim updates on the horizon. So we're opening up more conversations between CRM and LFM, making sure that what we're doing is creating the best environment for role players on both sides of the fence. And we are also working on more DOJ and judge stuff now, as that has become more of a focus. A judge's handbook is going to be set to get drafted in the next few weeks, so that people doing judge and lawyer RP will be able to have more of a defined way to do things, and more of a guide on how things might move forward, and how cases and things can progress. And speaking on that same thing, another big tackle that I want to have is to really look at the court system and the flow of it, and see if we can find a way to make it so that court moves quicker, and so that we can make it so that it's not so much like a soft ban waiting behind the walls of Sisika waiting for court. So that can also just be a problem of getting enough hands, but hopefully, again, by making a judge handbook and getting some more things set up to give some more structure to it, more people will be interested in that role play, and it won't feel so nebulous and big and not entertaining. Beyond that, Law is always working to try and make things as good as we can. We're working on having role play workshops. I'm going to try to start hosting those about once a month, and have opportunities for us to just have open discussions about improving role play and building better role play situations for players, again, across the board. So this point, we're less in Law about big major overhauls, and it's a lot of fine-tuning. And the fine-tuning can often be the most stressful part. But I do believe that the fine-tuning that we're doing and the parts that we're working on now will make the biggest difference in the long run. So stick with us. Be patient. We're going to continue to work on things as much as we can. And even though there's Crim stuff coming, we're going to be working with CRM and that team to make sure that this next big patch for Crims is going to be just as much fun for lawmen as well, so that everybody can continue to build and tell really good stories. That's about it for me.
Nice.
Thanks, beautiful.
Thanks for speaking,
Bird,
Benny.
have you got anything?
After that, no. Yeah. Howdy, everybody. So I am. Hey, Daniel.
Hey.
The one big thing that Benny talked about is, for the longest time, we've pretty much been solely focused on Law. There was a period where we were very, very focused on the doctors, DOJ, Sisika time, all that stuff. I just want to emphasize for all the people who are like really annoyed by the times, that stuff, no matter what throughout the server, is always going to be a work in progress until we fine tune it, like Benny said, to where it's the best version that it can be. Because I know you guys don't want to sit in a cell for 50 days, actual days. I know that people also don't want to see criminals walking around the second that they get arrested. So just want you guys to know that we have a lot of that stuff under our belt right now. Please be nice. Me and Benny often sit there yelling at each other for about 10 hours a day whenever we're getting in grind mode. Yeah, that's all I have. Benny nailed that shit in the park, out of the park rather.
You nailed it in the park. Very nice.
In the park, out of the park,
It's in
on
the
the
park.
side.
I would never hit a home run. I'm not.
Yeah,
that
you got two
inclined.
bases at least right there.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
I mean, and like I said, keep your eyes peeled for polls and things like that coming out for things like, how do we feel about bail? How do we feel about parole? How do we feel about punishments as they stand? We're going to be getting some of those questions together and posing those to the community so that we can get some genuine feedback and then take that to a bigger LFM meeting altogether, so that we can all have a discussion much like this. It's just that if we open the doors up for that discussion here, that's all this community meeting is going to be about. I don't want to take up all of that time. So
I do. I guess one more thing. I'm going to start putting out announcements to the server when there's big changes, so Civs and everyone else is actually aware of what's going on, because I realized I haven't been doing that, and Benny hasn't been doing this, so that's our bad on that part. I want to put some more stuff out there so everyone can be aware of the changes that are going on. So it's not just a last minute thing. We're like, hey guys, by the way, here's a new penal code. So we're going to start making those things out there. Probably going to work on the whitelist app for law again. I already talked to Leo about this, but I want to change it up and add something where I could put feedback on there. So when you get denied, you could see what it is, or if you get accepted, we can kind of highlight some things. That's the last part I had for that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for
CRM?
having us on.
Thanks.
It was really
welcome.
wonderful. I appreciate it. You guys are great.
We love you. Oh my god, my voice. Sorry, guys. I'm going through puberty again, so my voice is just gonna crack all the time. My mom says it'll be over soon. But yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep,
there's a lot of. As I said,
Now I'm
going
gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch like a weird person. All right, bye.
Bye. But there's a lot of changes, as I say, with Bird and Benny, and is we want to make sure that we have the community involvement on a lot of things. You know, we're hearing a lot of things here and there about timings and so on and so forth. So we are listening. As I say, these guys have just outright confirmed it, which is exactly what we need. So that's good. So moving on, so criminal roleplay management went through a huge shakeup, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of. If you're not, I'll give you kind of the too long didn't read version. Long story short is we stripped out everything. There was a lot of things that worked. There's a lot of things that didn't work, and we wanted to simplify the process and kind of bring it all down, so that it's a little bit more digestible for people on the outside to understand what's going on. But we also wanted to make sure the criminals and so forth, and even just a case of representation is done correctly. Because what would often happen through the various iterations of IFM from the start until today is we would just make changes criminal-wise, not really loop anybody in, and it'd just be a case of tough titties, it's happening, whether you like it or not. Or there'd be some underlying thing where we'd have a big set of rules and things that we'd expect, but we never really fully communicated them across to our teams, and never really fully communicated them off to the criminals and such themselves. So they'd often get pulled in a ticket for something that they have no idea what's going on. And that's not really fair. That truthfully, I think the main thing is communication was really off between the IFM teams that we had previously, and that's not just the one. There's many times. So I woke up one day and I just said, fuck it, let's just strip this out completely. Let's just remake it. And ultimately we've ended up with a very strong core team now. Haley and Ink are the current guys who are heading it, and they're absolutely fantastic. I wake up to about 20 DMs from Haley in the morning with a huge list of things to do every day. And I'm very grateful for it because she keeps a lot of things grounded, which is good. And her and Inka and the rest of the CRM team are communicating a lot of things down as much as possible. So for those who have factions, if you aren't in the CRM Discord already, please hurry up and get in there so that we can, communicate with you. We have individual threads, and channels, all dedicated to your channels, to your factions, so that you'll be able to communicate with us. So, we've got a full faction list at the moment from Aces High all the way down to Wandering Meadows and everybody in between. So everybody in there, the faction leaders are able to communicate with us. They're able to bring up issues. They're able to bring up a lot of things to us directly rather than through DMs. Because one of the things that we've kind of done recently is pretty much outlawed everything happening in DMs now. Everything needs to be in the ticket. Everything needs to be logged, and the appropriate people need to be able to see these things now. So you'll find, I know some people have messaged me about certain things and have been instructed to make a ticket now because, things shouldn't be handled privately. And that's what the CRM Discord aims to eliminate, is all the way in there, is to ensure that, we can actually communicate. So if the Jackdaws have an issue, they can communicate it to us. If the St. Denis Scamps have an issue, they can communicate it to us. If the Heathens, Dreamweavers, so on and so forth, if there's anything that they want to do, events, issues, changes, everything is always going to come to us. So the biggest thing is ensuring that everybody is kind of looped in. Which brings me to the next thing. We've had a little discussion in the chat recently as well So we're looking to open up a criminal roleplay management public team as well. For those who have been on previous servers, you might understand how this works, but for those who haven't, long story short is I had kind of a bit of revelation last night where we pushed the faction rule changes. Realistically, they should have been in the rules in the first place. It was just an oversight in forgetting them. But I found that we're often pushing little things here and there without people being looped in. So like Benny and Bird just said, where they're making announcements and such like that. We weren't really doing that. We weren't really discussing it with criminals before we kind of went ahead. So we tried, and I say I've tried doing this many a times, but I often just kind of forget that the channel exists, and I apologize to those who have been part of the little trials before. But we want to make a team where it's a public representation of all the criminals in the server. So in terms of this, it's people who are actually role-playing criminals, people who are actually doing the day-to-day in the trenches, so to speak, and the ones who really understand the forefront of what being a criminal is. So somebody who a group might be experiencing some bad role play from another group. There's one thing is, we don't really play. Oh, I say we, but like I don't really play. So in terms of seeing that group's role play, I only know certain people from an outside perspective, and I don't see the internal things. So for me, it's really hard to make decisions, and it's not really fair to make decisions based on what I know when it should be based on what everybody knows. So what CRM are doing now is we're going to draft up a public team, draft up an application, and ensure that we can get some people in there. So long story short, it's basically there'll be some basic requirements in there, and what I'm looking for is generally people looking to change the scope of criminal roleplay in Ranch. People who understand the server that we want, not the server that that a lot of other people want. And what I mean by that is we want obviously realistic roleplay. We want people who are actively having meaningful conflict, who are actively engaging in quality criminal roleplay, as opposed to sit at XYZ coordinates and press this button 4 times to become a criminal. Like that's kind of the way we don't really want to be. So I will bring it up. I will make an application for the people. As I say, please feel free to apply. We're looking for the biggest and best criminals on the server. But also, if you are just a starting out criminal and you've got some ideas, or you are a criminal role player, from other servers, and you've got some ideas, bring them to us, because at the end of the day, we only get better with your input. And as I say, from an outside perspective, it's really hard to kind of see what's going on. So I would really, really like to see a lot more kind of input from everybody else, so that I have a better understanding of what's going on. And Haley and Ink can work with that perfectly as well. So that's everything on CRM. As I say, CRM is very, very much changing. As you guys are aware, we got rid of the official, unofficial system. It's all very much rewarded on good roleplay now, rather than you've been here for X amount of time, you're a good representation, blah blah blah. And then we're also looking at implementing the strawman thing properly, and we're just kind of going through the nuances of that one. I know Charlie's had a little input with sheep's changes and such like that before, and there's a lot of good things coming for individual criminals as opposed to just large scale factions, because one thing we've done is, rather than it being faction management, we now absorb everybody that's a criminal into the team. So what that means is criminals are going to get a lot better, because ultimately, if we have bad criminals, we have bad law, we have bad civilians, and it's just a bad, it's a triangle of things. And that's not just for criminals, obviously. It's the same for everything. You have bad civs, you have bad criminals, you have bad law, repeating. It's just rock, paper, scissors. And that's kind of how you have to balance things sometimes. So that's enough about me waffling about CRM. But yeah, please give us your input, give us your feedback. We'll touch on the criminal updates later on in this meeting.
Nice.
Thanks, you.
Thanks,
mate.
Carrying the start of this fabulous meeting. That's been great. One thing that I wanted to talk about before we go on to the kind of development side of things. I think it must have been maybe 6 months or so now. I think Jessica approached me with the idea to start up the podcast, the Ranch podcast. I suppose we wanted to give a little bit of an update on why we do the podcast, what we're expecting for future episodes, and the kind of general reason and why we do it. Personally, the way I see it is, it's not only bringing on and exposing some of the great people on the server. Like last week we had Island 64. He's, fantastic role player. We had people like Shally on doing some kind of mapping talks. We had Sheep and his group, I think it was the Butcher Gang, talking about the kind of really intricate things about illegal roleplay. In my opinion, it's not just about, letting them tell their story, although that is a huge part. Everyone wants to kind of learn from each other. And that's the only way you're really going to get exposed to different sides of roleplay. For example, if you're sitting, running a business, you won't exactly get exposure on how Joe and Bob robbed the bank. It'd be cool to find out. Sometimes people stream that, that's great. But it's also to support the community in a sense that, at the end of every podcast, we're like raiding other content creators and getting that connection as well, and kind of pushing up the people that help stream Ranch is a really great thing, in my opinion. And I mean, that's why we're starting to utilize the Twitch channel a lot more. Just because, we can send you guys after a stream to, maybe someone that maybe just started streaming, maybe just got a content creator role. And, it gives them the kind of kickstart and the support that, we're thankful for them for streaming Ranch, which is great. Jess, are you here?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say anything on the podcast, you're like the king of the podcast, you and Dick. So, if you want to bring up anything, and
yeah, just I wanna drop this link that anyone and all can click on, and don't mind the dates on there because it is outdated. So we initially what we wanted to do with the podcast was to just learn, really. Because as you just said, you're gonna sit there and you play a rancher day in and day out. You don't know the intricacies of the Butcher Gang and criminal role play, but to do a little bit of exposure, but also to just do a community service. Because we want everyone. We don't just want law, DOJ, CRM, and then rinse repeat all the time. Obviously we want everyone on it. So if you go in there, I swear to you, if you apply in there, we do look on it all the time. We haven't even decided this week's episode because we haven't actually gotten together to sit there and talk about it. So go in there, drop an idea for it, to say what who's going to be on the podcast. Did we talk about who's going to be on the podcast?
We did, yes.
I forgot. Sorry, it is very late for me. Apparently we did talk about who's going to be on the podcast. I'm sorry, but what I mean is that
Would you like me to remind you?
Yes, please remind me.
So this week we are going to be featuring long-standing characters who have kept their characters going and continued progressing their stories. So we'll be featuring Monette Amara and Luciano De Luca.
Yes, that's right. De Luca and Monet. Again, it is to show every single aspect. The podcast is to showcase every single aspect there is about both RP, but also what we have to, every single aspect of every single RP there is from everyone, and all the cool shit, and give a little bit of hype to long-standing members and why they are still here. Again, use the link, go in there. We literally, me, Shally, and Dip, we talk every single week about who we're gonna pick, and I can't promise you you're gonna be on the next one, but I can promise you you're definitely not gonna be on it if you don't apply. So yes, that's really all I had to say about the podcast.
Cool. And I mean, whilst we're on the kind of streamy, podcasty talk, just to remind people, Lazy Buzzard has got like a great opportunity to interview a guy called Steve Palmer. Steve Palmer is like an acclaimed voice actor who done the voice acting for Bill Williamson in Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. If you know Bill Williamson, if you played single player, you'll know who he is. So Buzzard is going to be interviewing him tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time on Lazy Buzzard's channel. And me
Which
personally,
is 2 p.m. EST.
2 p.m. EST, yeah. 2 a.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
EST.
2 p.m. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, learning from these people, like the actual professional voice actors, you know, like how they might get into their character or how they would handle certain accents or localization of their voice. You know, like I tried to roleplay in Italian and I cannot do the voice, but if I got a tip from, you know, Steve and, you know, you just need to do this, you need to watch a couple of this, you know, that would really help out. So yeah, if you are around tomorrow, do not miss it because, you know, we're talking about Red M, you know, maybe talking a bit about Ranch, talking about voice acting, talking about Red Dead Redemption. You know, it's going to be really cool. So tune in tomorrow. And yes.
Oh yeah. We also got a new logo for the podcast.
And a new logo, which I think you kind of seen at the start. Yeah. You kind of seen that at the start.
It encapsulates their personality perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, Dip is handsome in that photo, as it always is.
Oh, yes.
All right.
I don't know. I think Jessica's the one that looks like a bearded Fabio.
What do you say? Bearded Fabio. Okay. Okay. All right. Moving on. Next part. Leo.
Next part. So the kind of fun part now is we're going to be talking about development and what's in store. Obviously, we've brought on Dan as sort of like, you know, official developer on the server. And Dan's been like helping us so much with research in terms of modeling, I don't know, 3D modeling, texturing, general game development research, all that kind of stuff. He's an expert, just a jack of all trades, as I would say.
Oh, thank you, man.
And he's been doing this for, God, like near enough since the server started, and he's not been nearly enough appreciated for what he does. So Dan will have a little segment coming up to show what he's been working on, which is cool. There's a lot of stuff. But first, the Saint Denis heist.
Ooh.
No one has yet broken the code and stolen from the vault. And to be fair, right, it's a difficult heist. The reason why I wanted to make it so different than just walking up to a door and putting dynamite down, is just to get more people involved and getting people talking to one another and getting a bit of conflict. You know, who's going to rob it first and how much can I sell this information for, and etc. So with the Saint Denis heist, there's a lot of puzzles, steps, information that you need. Not necessarily information on how to get into the vault, but maybe information from people that knew Gambino, information from, I don't know, criminal role players that might know where something is because they've seen it before in roleplay. Stuff like that is like what makes a really good criminal-based script or heist in comparison to, you know, like our regular bank robberies where you just throw down dynamite. So yeah, keep at it if you're working on it. You know, it's really fun. The prize is pretty big at the end. It'll be worth your time. If you rob the bank once, it's kind of going to be different on the next time around. You know, it's not going to be like the same rinse and repeat. There'll be like sort of new kind of twists involved to get into the bank and different stuff. So yeah, keep at it. It is live. It is ready to go. Hopefully someone robs it soon. If not, then I'll be disappointed. Yeah, and that kind of also
dad voice.
Yeah, disappointed. Especially all you expert criminal role players. Anyway, but that does bring us on to criminal updates. The Oaks and Shally did mention at the start. You know, quite a large population of the server role plays criminals. You know, we have a selection of civilian role players, we have a selection of law role players, doctor role players, natives, etc. But, you know, criminals is, in a sense, I wouldn't say the least or the most forgotten about, but, you know, we really want to put in a lot of effort to get these unique scripts that you guys can sit and, you know, work out as your faction and do different stuff. So that is on top of the priority for kind of the next stage of development. And we've already kind of finalised ideas on what we're going to do, which we'll talk about in just a second. You know, we've had input from different criminal groups that maybe send me or Golden messages on what would be good. Golden's been role-playing as a criminal, so kind of he knows the idea of what people want to do, which is cool. But yeah, what do you think, Golden? Do you want to chime in on any crimmy stuff?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing at the moment that a lot of people are talking about is the gunfight mechanics and how much damage the weapons do and the accuracy of each weapon. I think that's a big part. That'll be a big part of the next update. We'll be focusing on how much damage each weapon deals and the accuracy of each weapon. So that'll be coming. We'll be looking at adding an in-depth drug system with different types of drugs and different effects that they give and negative effects that they give afterwards, such as like addictions. And we'll spend a lot of time balancing that out so we get it right.
Yeah, and
obviously
like
different ways to obtain them and grow them.
Yeah, I think that's an important part about the kind of drug design is that we, if you think about, say, the farming system where like you're just planting down a seed and you're just waiting for the seed to grow and it has a few stages, we want the creation of drugs to be like a really in-depth process where, like, for example, you might buy the materials to make, I don't know, like a pot that you can put cocaine sluice into or whatever, you know. I'm not an expert in drugs, I promise, but we will do the research and the actual procurement of the drugs will be, it's a whole different thing. And then the effect of the drugs, you know, that'll be a whole different thing. There'll be a full system on drug effects and what it can and can't do. Obviously, ignoring the fact that, you know, some places, you know, you sniff cocaine and you get 700 HP and your strength is doubled. We don't really want to go down that route, but we kind of want to keep the supply and demand up.
Yeah, you need a reason to be using it. So it does need to have a short-term bonus, but I think if you have addictions, which that's going to have like a longer-term negative, so it will make someone either keep taking it or go to the doctors to get some like alternative drugs that don't have any effects, but like stop the addiction, or just wait it out, sort of thing. And it can't be too annoying as well. You can't be getting like, you know, too bothered by it that it interrupts your roleplay too much, sort of thing. You have to balance it out. It's very fine balance.
Yeah. So I mean that is a big part of the criminal update that's coming, is getting this whole drug system sorted. Because I know a lot of factions, they'll go 100% on the drug trade, and they will be, say, the faction to go to for cocaine or opium or heroin or whatever insert drug here suitable for 1900. Yeah, it'll be a huge part of the criminal side of the server, and we want to get it right the first time. You know, we don't want to. I'm going
to be looking into like say for example you have 100 grams of cocaine, for example. I want to make it so you can sort of split it or like cut it up and have two separate 75-gram blocks, but they'll have like less strength. So each stack of drugs will have their own strength assigned to it. And you can like do certain things to decrease the strength, but get more sort of weight out of it so that you can use.
Mix it with baby powder, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, there's other ideas that are cemented as well. Aside from drugs, things like fencing. So, if people don't know what fencing is, essentially just like a demand and buy system. It's obviously criminal. So, for example, horse fencing, you might find someone wants, an Arabian, so you would have to go out and steal an Arabian and bring it back for a reward. Wagon fencing, for example, you would go out, or you would be told to find, I don't know, just name a wagon. What wagon model do you have?
Stagecoach.
Yeah.
Or
So a stagecoach, a guy says, I'll give you, I don't know, $500 for, I don't know, a stagecoach chassis. It doesn't need to be the full stagecoach. I think a good part of the fencing is, depending on what you're fencing, you could like break down that thing and sell the parts individually. The demand will be set by, I don't know, someone. And they might just ask for, I don't know, a stagecoach mattress, or, a wheel off of a stagecoach, or I want horse skin of an Arabian as a mattress or a rug or whatever.
The wagons are a bit more tricky, but the horses will be pretty simple. They'll just ask for like a breed, so it might be a white Arabian. It'll be specific. It won't just be any Arabian. You'll have to get the specific coat as well, just to make it a bit harder. And obviously, every time the server restarts, the list will refresh as well. So that it's never the same horses that you'll be looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
We also have we're going to be reworking the store robberies as well, and the lockpicking mini game to be a lot more immersive. And we're going to have like physics and stuff, and there'll be different pins that you have to work with, and that'll be reworked. And we're going to be adding a lot more places for you to rob as well. Like the medical offices will be robbable, and they'll give actual like different items or rewards when you complete it, instead of just the same for every store. So medical offices, maybe gun stores. We could anywhere there's a cash register, we can essentially add it as robbable.
Yeah, and the robbable stuff can also be added into the fencing system. So, maybe with this new furniture system that we're going to be talking about, a fence might ask you to break into a house and steal a squirrel statue, and you would have to go about the state breaking into houses to find the squirrel statue that someone's placed down, and you could maybe return that for a prize. There's tons of opportunities of like robbery, and as Golden said, like if you rob like the medical office, the demand for, I don't know, certain medications or certain utensils that doctors use will definitely be kind of added to that whole fencing idea. There's lots of stuff to do with it, which will be cool. And the other suggestions we got is like more specific criminal stuff. We've had stuff like money laundering, where you could launder money through stores, or different things. You could do very specific criminal acts, and I want to kind of focus on that as well. So things like, how can we build in stuff like extortion into a script that can kind of work for maybe the more organised criminal groups who might want to extort a certain business or a town, or, I don't know, Jimmy from down the road who lives in a shack and needs protection. Kind of these very specific criminal acts would be super interesting for any roleplay group. So yeah, extortion, racketeering, whatever else, the crims get up to. Insert law here. Yeah, just know we're working on it. We are putting it in the height of the priority to get done. And systems like this do take quite a while. They take a long time, especially if we're kind of working on multiple systems at once. So it is coming for sure. But yeah, one of the next things we can talk about, and we'll get to questions at the end, by the way, if you guys have any questions. One of the next big things Golden's been working on, and I'll let him talk about it and maybe display what he's working on. I know Shally's kind of previewed it, but
yeah, I can show you.
Yeah, go on, Golden, have a talk about gambling.
Okay, so part of the next update, alongside the criminal features, we're going to have some stuff for everyone, which will be the new gambling games. Let me see if I can get my stream started here. Can we see that?
You have to warn me. Nobody told me. Huh?
Sorry. There's no rush. Can you see it?
Yeah, they can all see it. They can all see it.
Okay, cool. So this is roulette. We can support 6 people playing it at one time. And people that are standing around you, much like poker, they'll see what's going on. They'll see pieces moving. But it's I think I broke it. Oh, hang on.
Wow, dude.
Just restart.
Wow, you already
Exit
fucked
interior.
I was just about to say that, like you
It's not
told
that,
me.
is it? I'll just... Anyway, so let me get us some money. Okay. So this is roulette. You can bet on any of the pieces that you would expect to. You can do splits and corners, but I'll just bet on black to show you how it works. You get... it can change, but at the moment it's 7 seconds for everyone to place their bets, and it'll be the same for everyone. And the actual wheel actually spins. And there we go, we won.
Wow.
It's all animated, and everyone outside will see it all move into.
You're supposed
So that's
to put the
roulette.
camera over the spinny thing.
Yeah, we can do another one.
One more spin, dude.
See, Bird saying the same thing.
That's another win.
Here we go.
You rigged it as well.
So that's roulette. It will have a max table bet of around $500, which is quite a lot. I don't think too many people are going to be doing that big of a bet. But that's just to avoid people trying to trick the system and trying to double up if they're really rich or something like that. Yeah. So we'll also be having blackjack. Now, we was thinking for a while whether to have NPC dealers or have player dealers. But we've decided to go with NPC dealers, and this is something we're working on. There's nothing to show yet. But yeah, we'll be having blackjack as well. I don't have too much to talk about.
You should give him the caveat, Golden.
What's the caveat?
Where's roulette going to be?
Okay, so there'll only be one roulette table, and it'll be here on the boat. But they'll have a lot of blackjack tables all around where you'd expect them to be. They're already spread out well enough.
So nobody asked me to map in a roulette table.
Yeah, we won't be adding
answer
any more
will
roulette
be no.
tables. We're only going to have the one. There won't be too many people. I mean, it'll probably be busy for a while, but it will die down enough to where one will be plenty.
I guarantee you, the
whole
second it comes out, every single person and their fucking mother's gonna open up a ticket and be like, "Can I get a roulette table?"
Yeah, unfortunately,
No, it's
the answer's going to be no. We're not going to be adding any more.
What about other games? You got any other games planned?
So
a
we
game
had
that
chess.
I want so much is craps. Like,
Craps, yeah.
I love playing a bit of craps.
Crabs? Did someone say
But
crabs?
the crabs, crabs.
I think there is a craps model. There's no reason.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a craps table. Obviously the complexity of a game of craps and the types of bets that you can make, you know, might make it a bit longer to implement. But eventually, we just want to add all casino games, all types of card games, all types of board games.
Oh.
All with the assistance of our main man Dan, who can do genius stuff with 3D modeling and texturing. You know, he can create custom chips, custom cards, whatever you need. He's good at it, and the chessboard that he made, which was fantastic.
Thank you.
yeah, I think the enjoyment of card games and casino games and card games and board games is a big ask from the community, for sure.
Good little time killer.
I had chess pretty much almost done, but I seem to have lost the files on that, so that's great. But we'll remake it better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gambling. Golden's doing God's work.
Thank you, mate.
As always, the house always wins, so
yes,
you're
at a disadvantage.
You're always at a disadvantage. You might win big once, but you're going to lose eventually over time.
Oh, just one more thing I want to touch on as well. With the ones that have NPC dealers, such as blackjack and roulette, you're going to have a minimum playtime on your character. You won't be able to make a new character and then immediately go and gamble your starting money. You have to play the character for a specific amount of time. That's time spent on the character. We haven't decided the time yet.
That stops, creating your character, bet. Obviously, we'll have systems in place. We'll log all of the kind of spending, and if someone's giving you money from their new character, you'll be treated just like any other asset transfer case. But yeah,
we'll have a gambling helpline as well.
Gambling helpline, yeah. That's true. But yeah, as Dan said, it's just a fun pastime, and I think every server should really have these type of games, and it encourages chill roleplay, slow burn roleplay, like going down to the casino boat for an hour and just chilling out and talking to people and having that kind of social aspect.
Get you down in the saloons, sitting down, chilling out, campfires, all that shit.
That's it. Okay, the next grand thing that's coming out in one of the next updates. This is you again, Golden and Dan. Housing, furniture. I'll let you guys kick off with that as well.
Yeah. Go on, mate. Crack on.
Me? Okay. Furniture. So the way that I'll get that up. But the way furniture kind of started out, it was, to be honest, it was a very small idea from when I was sort of brought on into it. And it's just been ever expanding. We've been adding a lot of stuff into this new furniture system for regular players to absolutely go wild with whatever sort of house they want to build, as long as it's within some sort of regulations of the exterior, of course. But we can get into that in a bit later. But essentially what we've done is we've ripped a lot from the game, a lot of stuff from the base game, and we split it up into multiple different sections. So instead of having access to one building block, the player can essentially have access to 7 building blocks of the same sort of wall or trim or window. It goes into a lot of depth, which I can show off now. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, share your screen.
So some of you guys might have seen this already. Charlie has been showing it off in some of the mapping streams she's been doing. But essentially what you see here is a big clusterfuck of stuff. This has now become a bit of a showroom where we've been importing stuff in and just throwing it in just to see if it works. So let me change the weather. You can have a little look around. So just to quickly show this off. What was that?
Change the time and the weather. You have to leave the TPU.
Oh, but no. Golden has just updated that. We've got a new feature now that allows you to change the weather and filter inside your interior, but we'll get into that in a second.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's just something that's been added now. But just to show off a few things that what we have been doing. Everything you see here is separate items. Again, allowing the player to do whatever the hell they want to do. Beforehand, the amazing mapping team would have had to come in and, make everything that they possibly could with very limited access of tools. Charlie will be able to go into this a lot more because she is one of the mappers. but essentially she wouldn't have had access to any of these kind of walls up here, any of these florals, walls, a bunch of these fireplaces here. A lot of this stuff is now accessible to you guys, and it will be through this new furniture system. And there's a lot to show off. So I can go down here and show off. So some of you guys might have seen this. This is a little quick. This was the first ever house we made with the tests that we done, and all this was made in about 40 minutes, with just a wide variety of just random stuff that you can put in. We've got clutter on the floor. We've got new paintings. These are some new paintings that I've added. All these wall trims here, the ceiling tiling, windows, doors, absolutely everything. A little Huckabee statue there as well. Essentially allowing the player to just go wild and just unleash any sort of creativity they might want to have in their house. If you're playing a sort of, like a hermit that lives in a little shack somewhere, you can now build a little shack. And yeah, go to as far as you need to go. So here's some of the fireplaces that we've been ripping out. I plan to rip out a few more. Absolutely loads. Varnish floors, like I mentioned, and when you walk on them, the mappers will know this. When you walk on certain floors with certain packages that we purchased in the past, you walk on these sort of things and they sound like sand. You walk on this and it sounds like tile. You shoot it, it's concrete. You shoot that, it's wood. Exactly how it needs to be. Just to show off some other stuff that we've done. Golden really wants to make a sort of like a warehouse sort of factory. This was his sort of little quick attempt with some of the stuff that we had. Bunch of boxes, bunch of stuff. Charlie here really wanted this fireplace, so I ripped it out especially for her, so now she can make all of her amazing. You wanted to put that in your restaurant, right?
Yes.
That'll be going in the restaurant. So yeah, door frames.
Incoming.
Oh yeah, a lot of that will be happening. So we got door frames, different types of door frames. We've got double doors, allowing you to, really expand and change the variety of different types of styles building. Ignore this wall; it's bugged. But this is again, Golden made a little sort of like a posh man's office, I guess you could say, just with some of the stuff we had available at the time. Looking nice. And this is a big one here. I think you guys may know in the past, if you've ever been in an interior, stairs are quite limited with what we have access to at the moment via the mapping tool. Again, Charlie can go into a little bit more of that. You said you had to use benches before, right, to make stairs?
Benches, console tables, regular tables. Some of the easiest ones to go up will show up with a prompt of open drawer. So yeah. Ready?
So
you ready for this, Sage? I think she's in the chat.
So yes, I'm still working on it, but as you can see, if you walk upstairs now, you now do a somewhat walking upstairs animation. It's not perfect. There's code behind it to actually get it working 100%, and it's a lot of code. But at the moment, we have some sort of slope walking stair animation. No more skipping steps. There is sometimes I've noticed in some of these stairs when you walk up them, there is a bit of a stair skip, but it is a lot better than what it was. There it is there. But again, you do kind of do this slopey, walky animation, which is a lot better than what we've had. So stairs are now a thing. I've got to rip out a lot of stairs, a lot of different options available. I'm already looking at some of the big ones in the mansions, in the saloons, looking all over, just trying to pull them all out. Taxidermy people, anyone who has a taxidermy business, is still being discussed, but we're going to give you guys some more options. All of the taxidermy options within the taxidermy house in Strawberry, if you've ever been there, will now be available. And yeah, extra placeables for you guys in your businesses. Give you guys a lot more stuff to sell. Yeah, let me see what else we got here. So more doorways, more archways, stuff like that. Unique wallpapers that actually have, scuffs and sort of dents and divots inside them, adding a little bit more of a realistic approach to your house. Here was a little house that I made, testing out Charlie's fireplace that she wanted. And again, just sort of messing around with the different options available. There is a lot, and there will be even more to add. This, from what we're planning at the moment, we want to have this drop with the Crim update alongside it. So there will be an absolute bunch for this next update, not only for Crims, but for regular players as well. And here's another stair. This was the first stairs that I ripped out, and I managed to get it to work. I was so happy. Kind of works, kind of doesn't.
What about the actual process of, for example, you've just come into your new house that you want to furnish? How would a player go from a shell, and if you can explain what a shell is, to, for example, placing something down, maybe changing the texture, maybe doing something like that?
Yeah. So from what has been discussed at the moment, we're planning on giving the player two options. So they will have an option of having a predefined shell, which will be so you'll have like a category of different shells to choose from. A shell is essentially just like a base, very base interior. So it'll be completely empty in terms of furniture, but it will be a base structure. So 4 walls and a roof, and it will go from something that basic like a little tiny shack to maybe something a little bit more complex, say 2-floored house with just absolutely nothing inside. So from what we're planning on giving the player a bunch of different options for shells. Golden and Lau will be able to say a bit more about this, but from what has been discussed, we're planning on it costing a certain amount of money and maybe some materials as well. So adding a little bit of a sink to the economy there, allowing people to go out there and, grab their wood, grab the nails, the planks, bars, whatever you might need to make this stuff. There will actually be a roleplay process behind making these houses as well. So alongside there being different shells to offer, we are also offering the player to just completely start from scratch. You can spawn in above your house. So we originally started with this little shack here, which we started making. So you could spawn wherever you want, maybe slightly above your house, and you can just get to work. You can start building to your heart content, which I can show you now. The process on how to add stuff into your house. So /furniture, as you just saw a little bit earlier, this will be your menu for getting to work and making your house. A bunch of different options here. But like to just quickly mention again, because this was just added and it's really cool, you will now be able to choose how you want your house to look inside and sort of the mood you want to set. You want to go for like a foggy kind of look or, sort of overcast, you can do that. Misty, hurricane, you can go for all of that. Alongside that, there are filters that you can choose, allowing you to create a little bit more of a mysterious look. I'm trying to find one that is there's literally hundreds to choose from. But as you can see, I'm changing these filters and the game is completely changing. And there's a lot of different options to be had there. There's a lot of spooky ones. There's a lot of moody ones. A lot to choose from. But yeah, let me go and play something. So if you want to buy some furniture, you'll have an option of a search function where you can search whatever you might want to search. But everything also is listed out into categories. So we'll start with a wall, for example. Wall. And you have access to a bunch of different options. There's some wallpapers. There's even more wallpapers. There's planks. There's dirty planks. There's rotting planks. There's varnished walls, like we just showed off. And this is just a start. We plan on extending this even further. And some of them are broken, as you can see, that we need to fix. But we plan on adding a lot from the base game onto our templates. So that's just a basic wall there. We also have different variation of each wall. For example, we've got a quarter wall, which is a broken one. There's a quarter wall version, which is the same exact walls as like the one up there, but it's a quarter wall version. You have the exact same option for a doorway version, a window version, a half wall version, a long wall version. There's a lot of different types that you can choose from and go wild with. And alongside there, we've got different options for lamps. You can pull in a lamp. Here's a little bit of the navigation feature that you can use. You can place that pretty accurately. You have the ability to walk around in game, and if you want to get really close and want to be very pinpoint of where you want to put something, you can. You can literally move around and make your house on the fly, allowing players, to just whip stuff up really quickly. Actually, while we're here, just before we started this, me and Golden, I'm going to do it. Me and Golden were making a house, and we wanted to see who could make a better house. So I will quickly find that, and you guys can decide within 20 minutes, just before we started this, who has a better looking house so far. I've got to find it.
You can tip it to me. I'm number 2.
So we'll start with Golden's house. So this is the exterior. 2 doors, 1 door either side. He's got the right, I've got the left. You guys need to vote on which one's the better one. But just to give an idea on what you can sort of create within 20 minutes. Obviously, ignore it, it's raining. We can change that. But this is his Golden's little shack that he's made. He started to put up some posters on the wall. Little bread baskets underneath.
Right, let me go and turn the rain off. You're ruining my house, my lovely house.
Yeah, turn the rain off. But yeah, you got a nice little window, nice little view there. If he wanted to, he could have had a second floor, but well, I guess with this room you couldn't. But like if you had an exterior that had 2 floors, you could go ahead and make yourself a second floor if you really wanted to. So this is Golden's house right here. Now, feast your eyes on what I've been doing. Again, only had 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, but I think mine's a lot better. Now look at this.
What?
Structured framework to your house.
Rubbish.
You can add all the structure. Do you mind, mate? You can add all the structure that you want to add. You can go as wild or as as basic as you want to. And yeah, this is my little
tiny.
house. Yeah, it is because it's a tiny little room. But as you can see, I've placed a different kind of door frame here with a different kind of wall door. And you can just go as wild as you need to go. We want to allow the users as much creativity as they want, within reason, as long as it looks like it belongs to the exterior. And I believe that there will be a bunch of monitoring going on with that.
Absolutely, yes. There'll be a lot of regulations and guidelines that we'll ask you to follow. So if I TP into your little shack and see a 2-floor mansion, I'm deleting all your shit and you're not getting a refund.
There you heard it. So make sure you keep them within those.
No refunds.
No refunds.
Regulations. But also, just a little quick thing here. You have access, to see your furniture count. You can see how many pieces that you place down, sort of the worth on how much that you've spent. And yeah, current furniture, that's also another option. So if you wanted to find a certain piece that you weren't too sure which goes where, you have an access to every single piece of furniture in the list. And you will be able to use your cursor to just simply select a certain part of the interior, allowing you to just quickly, edit something on the fly. And I'm really excited to see what sort of housing people are going to be creating with the system. Who won? Who won the best house? I'm still voting.
I think it's a tie so far.
A tie? What do you mean?
It's 4-4. Oh, Dan's got 5.
Yeah.
Dan's got 6.
Huh?
7.
Right, I'm deleting the roulette
Golden's
script.
got 6.
No way.
Oh,
come
Dan's
on.
got 8. Oh, draw.
I also just want to note that the furniture script will only be applicable to teleport interiors. If you own a home that is a walk-in, you will not get a teleport interior for that. That is a walk-in. You bought a walk-in. We're trying to keep those to the game. So this is only available to TPs.
That's right. And in terms of allowing players to, work on this, say for example, you're a couple, and you have a house and it's only owned by one player. Obviously, that's how it works. One player will have the slot holding the house. If you and your couple or your roommate or whoever it might be wants to work on the house, you will be able to work on it together. It's not limited to just one player. You will be able to grant people access to make and build onto your house. So if you have a roommate or you want to make like an apartment complex or something like that, you will be able to give another player complete access and complete control to add to your house over time if needed, or build it together from scratch, whatever you may choose.
Calling all
you can build
2,000 hour
as well.
Sims players
Yeah,
to be the new interior designers of the server.
And that's it.
Sims.
It opens up a complete chance for a new Civ role, job role. Be an interior designer. You could be the best person in the world. You could be a mapper who has been doing this previously in the past. You'll be able to now do this as an in-character job. You could be the worst interior designer in the world and, try and sell your services. It's now another option and another thing for a player to do if that's the route they wish to go.
Hell yeah.
But yeah.
And I mean this is a huge system, so kudos to you and Golden for working so hard on it. It's truly going to be one of the best systems we've got on the server, and one of the most unique as well.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where else can you find this? Probably nowhere. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy it when it comes out. I think it's going to be super cool to have creative minds continue to map and do cool stuff, and yeah.
Talking about unique stuff.
Huh?
Rubbish house, burning it down.
What segue we're trying to go with here? I'm not catching.
All the picture. Remember all the pictures of all the unique.
Oh
stuff?
right, yes.
Yeah, that's Dan's
I'm
corner is the
sad
next
you
agenda.
guys didn't let me join this competition.
Oh well, I'm sure you would have built a better house than us combined within that time. So obviously we wanted to keep the level play, keep it fair.
Yeah, we've got to keep it fair.
Good save. All right, yeah. So my stream's a little bit delayed, but just to go through some of the stuff that we've been working on that's already in the server.
So, here we go.
Yeah, let me know when we're good because I can't actually watch the stream
the
right now.
Johnny Colt figure.
Okay, so this is some other stuff that we are looking at adding. In terms of where we put it in the server, I don't know. Well, how my thought process tends to go is I kind of want to make stuff, and if it fits the server, great. If it don't fit the server, then it just gets put to one side. So I don't know if you know, but me and Jess have been messing around, and we've now made 3D print figures of certain characters in the game. I have access to those. Yeah, about 20 of them. They're real figures that, you can put on your desk or whatever. But I also still have those files. And I thought, why not see if I can put them back into the game? And you can. So you're still on the screen, right? Again, I can't see.
Yeah, it's Johnny Colt right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So for example, the character Johnny Colt, a well-known musician within the server, I thought, why not try and make a model out of it, a figurine? And it's come out pretty well. And this is now a possibility in which we could do. Again, as how it fits into the server, not too sure yet. But we could do this for anything. We could make tiny figurines for horses. You got a special horse that you wanted a little figurine for. We can do that and put that in the game. You got a loved one, a character, a famous character on the server that you wanted to be a figurine. It's now an option. It's the possibilities are truly endless on that scope. We can make anything and bring it down to a miniature size. Literally anything. Yeah, just to show off some other stuff that we've been that's already in the server. Just if you don't mind going to the Huckabee statue.
Oh, the Huckabee statue? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll leave that last. We'll leave the maps last.
Yeah.
so Huckabee statue. This is something you guys might have already seen on the server. Again, this is now possible, and from my knowledge, we're the only server that has a custom player model statue for characters. I have the big mindset that if we're able to create something, an asset like this, why not make a huge roleplay event out of it? We made a Huckabee statue unveiling where a bunch of people came to, and it created some decent roleplay out of it. And to this day, I still see people going up to that Huckabee statue and role-playing around it. It provides lore to the server. It provides people, like a talking point for people who might come into the city. And I think stuff like this is really cool and unique. And also, if another character dies in the future, a big, impactful character that might be, a government member or a law member, if it gets the support behind it, I'm happy to create it. We can create one for another big government character.
Gambino.
For sure. The Gambino could create him a statue. Literally, we could. Anything like that is possible. Just takes time. That's the only thing.
I just want his mustache to hang over the door of the bank. Yeah.
Could do that. Have a little door knocker, mate.
Yeah.
Gambino, the old bum that Monette thought was going to rob her because he looked so dirty.
So to show off some other things, I've made Peter Walsh, love character. He had a crab in a can. I've made, as a test thing, I made a crab in a can model. Again, that is something possible now. If you have a character that has a very unique and well-known recipe, can, whatever that might be, is something that we can do. We can put that in the game. And to cut off to something else, if Jisk is able to show it, I've made custom vinyls for just like a placeable model for vinyls now, that we wouldn't have had access to anything like that before. Now you can place that down and do whatever you need to do with it. Some signs, if he's flicking through it, I've made a bunch of custom signs for different businesses. Now again, please don't spam me with making businesses. I'm trying to get around to as many people as possible. The idea that I have behind it is people who've had their businesses for a long time are people who take priority in my mind. I love doing this stuff. Go on, Charlie, you say something.
If I find out that you are DMing Dan to get special things for your business, I will put you to the very bottom of the pile. Do
Obviously,
not do that.
Only DM him if you include your PayPal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to.
If you are buying a figure,
Dan
great,
rich.
awesome, do that. If you are trying to get something in for your business, I will deny you.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if they want to buy one of their figures, let them know.
But look, I'd love everyone to have their own custom business for their own, their own roleplay hub. I'd love that, and that's something that that I'm trying to do with the limited time that I have on top of doing the furniture stuff and stuff like that. But just to quickly scroll through some of the other stuff that I've made for the server before we start looking at new stuff. I've done MSO badges with the new lore update that came in. We made a completely new badge. New badges could be made in the future for new lore factions if they ever come around. Who knows? And also I made them a Monroe Sheriff's Office headquarters sign as well, I believe. And the last picture I have before we get to maps. This is very, very, very early concept, and Charlie can completely shoot me down if it's something that we don't want to do. But again, it's just me exploring any possible option. Gravestones. If it's on screen now, I hope it is. I suggested the idea that maybe we can have some kind of gravestone system within our actual graves, all across the map, Saint Denis, Valentine, Rhodes, etc., etc. This is a very early concept, but something that I personally would love to see, even if it is a lot of work on my end. I would love to see a in-character undertaker business or some sort of burial business. I believe it will provide a lot of role play for people who want to, lay rest to their certain loved ones that have been around for a very long time. Again, it's very early in the works, but if we were able to implement it, this is something that we could do. We can make custom gravestones for all the graves all across Monroe. Again, allowing a little bit more lore onto the server, more stories. You can literally go around the whole of the Saint Denis graveyard. There's so many spots there, and you could fill that right up with a bunch of love characters all across the server, and that would be really cool to see. I'd really look forward to that. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add on that, Charlie.
It would be something that we, as you know, that I'm very much in support of. However, it would be regulated. So there would be an in-character process. It would not be retroactive. So we would not be, when we go live with this, you're not going to be opening up a ticket and be like, my character died a year ago. Well, sucks to suck. We didn't have this then. It's only going to be implemented from like when we implement it, it'll be from that point on. So I want to get that out free and clear right now. Whenever this is implemented, there will be no retroactive ones added on because that means Dan's going to be starting with at least 100 names of people that are going to come at him. So that's something to note. And there will be a turnaround time with this. So it's not a quick and easy thing. This is something that right now only Dan knows how to do. Hopefully he'll show a few more of us how to do this and we can help out, but it's still going to be something that requires patience, which I love you all dearly. A lot of you don't have. So this is going to require patience, and I'm going to ask that you remember that.
A little bit of patience, and once we set up a better system on our end, if it does go live, we'll be able to get a little bit faster with it. But again, it will take time. It's going to take a lot of manual work for each and every character, and give you the attention that each dead character does deserve. I don't really want to rush it. I want it to look as best as it can.
And it'll be name and date. We're not adding odes and poems and whatever. Name and date.
Yeah. And the last thing, something that I'm very excited to show off as well, alongside the furniture update, is this right here. We are working on this new concept to go within the criminal update. Treasure maps, clue scrolls, whatever you might want to call them. Any RuneScape players in the chat, you'll know what a clue scroll is. Essentially, we want to create a bunch of different tiered treasure maps. And we don't want to just go with, 10, 20, 30. At the moment, we're aiming for around 100 different treasure maps, all custom created, all with their own little story behind them. Now, the idea around this and how it will work and how they're brought into the server is still very new, and ideas are being brought around it. But a few different things that have been suggested are store robberies, bank robberies, and maybe, who knows, the big Saint Denis heist could offer them as well. In terms of how they work, again, very early concept, but we're looking at maybe doing an easy versions, medium versions, hard versions, and then like an elite version, which is the hardest of all treasure maps to try and undercover or work out. At the moment, we've got about a quarter of them done. But with how things are going and the direction that we're moving in, we should hopefully have around 100 done by the time that the Crim update drops. And in the future, who knows, might even add more. But there's some really hard ones already. The ones that have been made, we've tested with a few people. They don't have a clue. And I think this will just bring a lot more role play to people trying to, undercover them, trying to figure them out, trying to translate them, trying to, piece them all together, decipher any sort of encrypted message in them. There's going to be a lot to do. To go alongside it, I don't know if you want to talk about Gold and the way is how you find them, the little tool that you will be using.
Yeah, we can touch on that. You'll have we have a new tool in the game, the metal detector. So the treasure map will get you to the general area. I don't want to go too much into it. I don't want to give too much away, but you'll have a metal detector, and just like in Red Dead Online, it will start glowing and buzzing when you get close to the treasure. And
do you have a video?
Yes. I'll give. Do you have a disc?
Which video?
Let me send it to you. I'll give you a minute to get this out.
Yeah. So in the meantime, while they get that video, yeah, the potential sort of businesses this could open up between crims and civilians. There's a lot to be done. There could be people out there who are getting a lot of different treasure maps, and they might stockpile them. They may want to go out and sell them to the public, and that's where civilians will be able to get their hands on. And civilians can go around and have a small little task of trying to crack the code and trying to figure out where certain treasure is. It should create its own new like opportune and sort of unique market, to say the least. Again, little ideas that have been suggested as well. With the metal detector, you could go around and just start searching for things, get little basic things like coins or potentially even an easy map all around the map. That is something that has been discussed as a very early concept. Yeah, and the hard ones are definitely going to need a lot of brain power to figure out. And the loot, depending on the type of map, the loot will increase.
Right, it's on the screen now.
Really
the metal detector.
Yeah. So that's the metal detector working when you're pretty much on top of one of the spots.
Yeah, so you don't have to be a criminal to get the maps. You could potentially just go around with a metal detector and start finding spots, and there's a small chance you might find a map in, just buried somewhere. You won't find loot as good as you would if you was, following a map, though.
And for example, if you do know where a certain location is for one of the maps and you're trying to dig it up and you don't have the option to, as because you won't be able to, you will need the map in your inventory for you to be able to get the loot in that area. But we're hoping that because we've had so many maps, some of them are very, very hard. We're hoping that this is going to last a very long time and keep you guys, your brains active and role play. I can't wait to see all the role play available, like people making up little camps and just spending their day just trying to figure out where a certain piece is or a certain clue is. It's going to really open up a lot for criminals and civilians alike.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that you? Finished Dan's corner?
I think that's me. That's Dan's corner done.
Yeah, so I mean, as you see, bringing on Dan was a really good decision in terms that he's talented and what he does. He's dedicated to.
Oh, one last thing.
Yep.
Sorry, just to give a shout out to the people in the graphics team who have actually helped make these maps. I can't draw for shit. They've actually been, we come up with sort of like the rough idea, the rough concept, and we give the graphics team complete creative control of it. And they've just the one that you saw on screen, that was one made by Goose, and great job. Like there's some really cool ones, and I really can't wait for you guys to see all the different stories behind some of them, lore friendly stories. It's really cool. But yeah, sorry to go in.
Yeah, no, big up. A lot of people are putting in a lot of effort to try and get these bigger systems out to you guys. It's not all about the quality of life updates. We're not just sitting doing nothing. And that's the case for not just the development team, or say for example the graphics team or the media team or whatever. That's for all of staff. We are all really working hard to bring out stuff that is unique. It's not been seen before, and is expanding Red M, because in the grand scheme of things, we want Red M to progress, and hopefully with CFX developments, we're going to be able to do a whole lot more. Like for example, I just seen that one guy in the CFX community was working on custom train tracks where you could set your own path for a train.
Oh, mate, we can connect New Austin to the rest of the map.
Yeah, like when Mexico eventually comes out, quotation eventually. If this guy, releases his research, we could have a train across to Mexico. We could build a bridge. Tons of opportunities with Red M research. And, with Dan contributing to this, with, Golden kind of innovating with different systems that he does, and it doesn't just have to be the development team, that the community is also pushing for what a roleplay server really should be, and it kind of opens the creativity, like, for everyone. Yeah, I just find it inspiring that a lot of people are putting in all this effort, which is great. One mention that I would want is Cow as well is working on ranching. And we know ranching is coming in the 1.0 update, so like the big one. We've still got 0.9 to go, which is the next one that's coming out potentially. I don't want to give a date, but you've seen that we're really working hard on it. Cow is still working on the ranching script. We've got like a lot of testing sessions going in. There'll be a few more reviews before we put it out into the 1.0 update, but it is coming. You'll eventually be able to get some milk from some cows and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, big shout out to Cow. He's super consistent on getting a system done. When he puts his mind to, I want a ranching thing, he's got a lot of ideas, and shout out to the staff team that's been helping him out as well. Big W's all around for the full team. The next thing as well, I kind of promised this. I think it was a few months ago, and that's the banking update. And
sorry,
if you're aware, how the current banking system works is, we have different banks in different towns in the city, but the only thing you can really do is deposit, withdraw. You can apply for loan, or you can manage your loans, and then you can move items between your bank storage and your inventory. But this is going to be changing drastically pretty soon. So I'll give a kind of overview of what to expect from this new and improved bank system. First of all, you'll still have your bank balance, you'll still have your money, but we're going to be introducing routing numbers. And what a routing number is essentially anyone can send anyone money via the bank, via a routing number or an offline number. So if you want to pay a guy in Blackwater when you're in Saint Denis, you can just send them money through this routing number. It might take a while, given it's 1900. It might take a while to send across the telegraph poles with Morse code or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, you can send money through a routing number individually. Individually as well, you'll also be able to invest and have a savings account. So depending on maybe some commodity that the bank sets on savings, you'll be able to put money into the savings account. You might lose some money, you might gain some money. It's not as volatile as, say, a stock market, but we'll base it on a single commodity that can go up or down depending on dynamic events. And that'll be like your best savings account. You probably won't get very much, maybe 1% or whatever the current rate is. And individually as well, you'll be able to invest in the stock market. And I'll move on to the stock market in a second. But we'll have a stock market coming in. Next thing is group accounts. So this isn't just restricted to factions or businesses, but anyone can set up a group banking account. And what that is, essentially, you'll have an owner of a group, sort of like Telegram groups, and that group will have its own routing number, and you can essentially do a few things with it. Number one, you can set up payroll. So if you have a business and you have 10 employees, you can add each employee's routing number to the payroll system, and you'll be able to set how much they're paid out of the group account every 24 hours, for example. So you can have John, who works on front desk, he gets paid $12 every day. You can have Margaret, who's sweeping the floors. She can get $6 a day. You can have mob boss John, who you're, paying up to. He gets $25 a day. Foreman John. So there's a lot of stuff to do with payroll, which is good because, you want to pay your employees, or if you're a faction, you want to maybe cut out and give out some money to faction members. All good. You'll be able to do that. Another big thing is invoicing. So with a group account, name pending, you'll be able to create invoices. And what invoices are is, I'll just go from a business example. If you want to sell, for example, let's say you want to sell 20 pelts, 7 apples, and 2 raw chicken. You can put that in the invoice with each item line, and you can set the price for each item line, and then you can invoice a routing number. And what that will do is it will send the invoice to whatever individual character or business, and they'll have the option to pay it. And then you can manage the invoices, you can see who's paid it. You can chase up people who's not paid an invoice, but they've gotten the goods. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. So invoicing is going to be a huge part and a benefit for the businesses. And the stock market, as I mentioned before. So there's 2 main things in the stock market that we're going to have. And stock markets have been done on other servers before. They tend to get neglected because it's manual, which means admins have to go in and manually set the kind of increase and decrease in stock price depending on what you invest in. But we'll have dynamic stock events. So the stock will increase or decrease depending on stuff like the business performance. So Pete's Crab Shack could offer shares of the business, and depending on how much that business makes, the stock can go up or down. The time of year, if you want to invest in an electrical company, maybe in winter you get more money because people are using more electricity. There'll be shortfalls. For example, I don't know, let's say the store down the road in Saint Denis blew up. Someone blew it up. The stock's obviously going to go down from that. Supply and demand, stock events, different finances. If the government implement a policy that prohibits a certain thing, that can go up or down. And wars and conflicts as well. You'll also be able to invest in just straight up commodities. So oils, metals, materials, agricultural commodities, produce, livestock, stuff like that. And this will all just be in one nice open UI that you can look at, which has like super easy to manage, clear instructions on what to do. So yeah, you will be able to do a lot more with banking pretty soon. But yeah, as Bo said, short on a business and then blow it up. Yeah, stuff like that. I think Golden, we touched on robberies, didn't we? Like different things to rob. Kind of touched on that.
I know we reworked the mini game for store robberies and had a lot more places to rob, different loots and stuff.
Yeah. And I think that is sort of it for the development side to update you all. I know we're kind of coming on to 2 hours now and we still need to do a Q&A, so I think now is a better time than ever to conclude, unless anyone else has anything else to say.
No.
No?
I'm pretty sure that most don't even know everything that we covered because we covered so much. So I hope you guys are incredibly excited. So I think right now it is a good time to move to Q&A and let you guys speak. Now, I know we set out a form and we got tons of questions on the forms. What we're going to do is after this, once we've got it all cleaned up, we're going to post that. So you're going to see our responses on all of your questions, even the cheeky one. So that will be coming out when I'm not dog tired. So probably tomorrow.
Oxy, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, do you want to go through the responses?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we got a bunch.
Yeah, just forward it on to like if it's like a specific question.
Yeah. We got a bunch of questions. Some pretty good, some a little bit concerning. But not like in a bad way. Then it's just some genuine questions. So I'm just gonna pick one, or should I just go from the top down? That's probably easiest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first. Do I read this one really?
You can.
Okay. The first one is why doesn't I skipped out of it. Why doesn't Oaks log into the server? Answer is I'm working 24/7. That's the only reason why. That's it. But it comes from somebody who, doesn't play the server anyway. No, I'm kidding. That's mean. But realistically, there's just a lot going on. And in terms of time zones and such like that, it's a big struggle. And yeah, we won't go for a sub story, but it's hard. Anyway, then we've got since adding MSO, how do you feel lore roleplay has changed, and do you think it's a good change or a bad change? So I'd say this is for the floor all the way across the top. Me personally, I'm seeing a lot of positives. I haven't really seen any major negatives, honestly. I think it's really good that we've got a really strong and solid structure, and it's really credits to the LFM team and the guys who are running MSO now to really enforce the standards that we want. From an outside perspective, and going back to the previous question, as someone who doesn't play at the moment, everything I'm seeing lore-wise is doing really well. Like, I'm really, really proud, really happy with everything. And people tend to be a lot more receiving to the lore roleplay, a lot more people moving around. Yeah, I agree with you, Monet. STBD disappearing is the biggest negative. The problem with STBD is it's such like a niche little area and a niche little topic that you really need someone who's going to be able to stick around and dedicate a huge amount of time to it. I think maybe we can... excuse me. I think maybe we can look at kind of bringing it back. I mean, Golden did some fantastic work with the uniforms and such. It would be a shame to just kind of let that stagnate. So if we can, if we can find somebody who can play for more than 2 months, like Bird says, then absolutely. I'd be more than happy to kind of bring that back. Anybody else got any comments on MSO? I mean, me personally, I think we're really fucking happy. Everything's really good.
I think it's definitely a healthy decision, and it was a healthy decision, and it's proved to be that. There's a little bit of room for improvement in some aspects, of course, so there always will be. But yeah, I definitely think it's the right call, and there's been improvement already.
I think for me, if I just compare Law now to maybe what it was 6 months ago, huge change. I think it's in a really good state. Kimber's doing a great job kind of running everything he needs to do. Benny and Bird, fantastic job, kicking with LFM. I think we're in a good position. As Oak said, maybe there's like little twists and nicks that we need to kind of iron out, but yeah, man, we're on the right track at least, for sure.
Yeah. I just want to touch on this question before it disappears all the way up the chat list, Abso. Lately, I've been noticing a trend of conflict. Tickets get open from the opposing faction, then the opposing faction then retaliates out of frustration when the ticket didn't work out for them. How can we go about solving these types of issues? So for me, I don't want to sound like really mean, but I think people just need to kind of grow up and understand that things are in character rather than ticket wars and so on and so forth. CRM, we're kind of backing up on dictating a lot of things, but at the same time, we are seeing an increase in kind of tickets and such of XYZ being reported for XYZ. I think a lot of people kind of need to understand that it's an in character thing, right? At the end of the day, if you get shot in character, it should remain in character. Like if your gang's at war with another gang, so let's just say Wallace gang is at war with Leo's gang, realistically, outside of character, you guys should be like communicating and be like, hey, good scene, blah blah blah, or I wasn't too keen on this, let's do this better next time, blah blah blah. Like these little things. I think faction leaders need to be open to communicating a lot more, and I think in character kind of hatred needs to stay in character, because nothing is cringier than seeing this guy blah blah blah, or I've seen a lot of this kind of happen in some of our public chats, is two factions are arguing in a public Discord chat, and it's just like it's in character, chill out, grow up. And to solve those kind of conflicts, it's from a CRM point of view, it's very much kind of instilling the mentality that we want. It's very much a case of saying, listen, this is the standards that we expect, this is what we expect from you guys. If you can't stick to it, then we're going to have to look at alternative methods. I mean, we're not above closing down factions, we're not above striking factions, we're not above issuing everything across until the standard comes a thing. I know we've always said that we'd rather have 50 good players than 250 and 200 of them being subpar. So it's the same with factions. I'd rather have like 4 or 5 really amazing factions that impact the server than 20 factions who are constantly arguing out of character.
And I'll just hop in and just say, if there's one thing that I've learned personally, from the over a year that Ranch has been about, is most conflicts that would otherwise end up in, ticket wars are solved by just sitting down with the party that you might be in conflict with.
Yeah.
Like it could have been an IC thing completely, but if you just sit down and talk with them OC'ly, and I've kind of mandated that a few times with some, faction disagreements. I've just sat the leader of both factions down and said, hey, like, let's talk it out in voice chat. It always ends up positive and a kind of plus for whatever conflict there is. So instead of just rushing to tickets, like, DM the faction leader or DM the person you're having issues with. If it's not like a super clear breach of rules, like I think I pull up a statistic here, like there's 40,000 tickets created so far in Ranch. 40,000 in the over a year.
They're not all negative though.
They're not all negative, but anything that will reduce the ticket account and just talk to people, I think is a good shout. Getting to know the people that you might be in conflict with, OC'ly, just hash it out with them.
Yeah,
I think it's a good.
I mean, generally, if someone's making a ticket against you, you're either breaking the rules. Well, you're going to be breaking the rules, but they're probably not enjoying the role play that you're providing them as well. Now, that's not always going to be the case, but I think the thing we should strive to achieve is just to make it fun for people around you, and then you're not going to get tickets made against you,
Yeah.
And you can talk to people and get on the same page and share your opinions. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not being toxic or being a dickhead. Then that's fine.
I think the biggest thing is always communication with an opposing faction is going to end up with a better resolution than a staff intervention one, I think, because ultimately I know a lot of people don't like that we use the rulebook, but ultimately we have the rulebook to kind of operate out of. Whereas, if faction leaders are communicating or criminals are communicating with another lawman that's currently chasing them, or vice versa, it's always something that I feel like if you're going to be communicating out of character to have better in character scenes, then it's going to be a lot more a better outcome. But as long as it's not dictating roleplay and saying, oh, we're going to do this, you react accordingly. It's a case of, hey, if we're going to have a fight, I'd much prefer if we was just fist fighting for a couple of weeks and then escalated to guns and all that kind of stuff. I feel like your development and storylines are going to, become a lot better. But as Charlie's just said, it's true. As long as kind of the respect is communicated, everything should be fine. Because ultimately, when it comes to a ticket, we're going to evaluate both sides and look for either a resolution or just send you on your way and kind of terminate things. And yeah, like something. Sorry, just Mercy. I agree with that statement. Is not everything needs to be ticketed, right? At the end of the day, is if somebody does a minor rule break, but it contributes to the scene and everybody's okay with it, it doesn't really need to come to a ticket. The only time that it generally comes to a ticket is if it's really disrupting the scene. And this is something that the admins, and I discussed this in the last podcast, is every time you may admins evaluate a ticket, it should be a case of, did this person break a rule? Yes. Did it disrupt the scene? Yes. Did it actually impact the scene in a way that is wrong, or did it actually make the scene better? And then that's where the evaluation period comes. And I invite all players to kind of think that mentality as well, because at the end of the day, we're all just big nerds. We're all playing together. Like, we shouldn't be here trying to get everybody out of the server and such like that. We should be, flourishing through stories. Awesome. So, moving on. With the recent influx of players flooding the server, what is management doing to uphold the standards of roleplay of these new players? Within the last few weeks, we have seen a significant increase of bad roleplay from these new players. So the question is, are you going to teach them, just remove them from the server, or just remove them from the server when they break the rules repeatedly? So Charlie's kind of put her own thoughts into this, and I agree completely, is education's always the first go. I know a lot of people hate that we do this, but at the same time, we want people to come onto our server, and we want people to stick around, and we want people to kind of understand the standards that, we're trying to portray. So, the whitelist can only do so much, but bringing people in from other areas and so forth, everybody has different experiences. I remember when I first joined my first roleplay server, I used my real life first name, which Sparks Leo will fucking tell you. And I barely knew how to roleplay, and I joined fucking law of all things. And I remember being a police officer 1 at the time, just completely no idea what to do. And I thought, the first 2 weeks, I thought it was funny to cop bait. Now, looking back, I would have been the worst player to join Ranch. I would have been an absolute garbage top tier role player, which I still am, to be fair. But that kind of thing is, we need to give people a chance to understand their mistakes and kind of conform to the standards. At the end of the day, education will always be first and foremost the first thing, because if you break a rule and you didn't realize you break a rule, or if you've broken a rule and you want to learn how to do better, then we've got a team. We've got loads of people who are going to stick around, and we're going to turn around and say, look, this is how we would do something differently. The only way you become a better role player is being educated by better role players. But also, and at the same time, other people can kind of hold people accountable at the same time. So it's always kind of making sure that education is. However, at the same time, we do have scaling punishments as well. So if after the education stage, people don't learn, then, see you later. That's where the bans start coming in. It goes 24, 48, 72 weeks, months, year. Well, I don't think we've banned anyone for a year yet, but, weeks, months, and so forth. It comes to that kind of point of view where we turn around and say, right, you're clearly not listening. So, see you later. Like, there's other servers where you could play, if you are low tier and, if you're subpar and such like that, I'm sure other servers will happily take their number to a statistic. We're trying to create roleplay stories here. We're not trying to create, over the top wild stuff. And at the end of the day, there's a Hollywood aspect to Ranch in a way. And, that's kind of the stories that we want. But we don't want people running around in wolf costumes, as an example, screaming like a goddamn furry, because it didn't really happen in this time, and if it did, the person would have been instituted or shot. Obviously we can't do things like that, but at the same time, we want to make sure. Sorry, Bird, I've ruined your furry roleplay. I apologize. So just to touch back on the question, education is always going to be first and foremost, and at the end of the day, we have our punishment systems, and there's a lot of different things that are tied to handling things. And if newer players are coming in and just being lower tier, at the end of the day, either they get educated and do better, or they get removed from the server. There's only 2 ways that really come out of that one. Similar. But it's not, I'll be honest, and actually I just read your note here, Charlie, and I completely agree. It's not just new players. There's a lot of times where it's older established players who, and this is kind of going to insult some people, who think they are the cream of the crop. And then they see a new person do something and they're like, oh, well, that's not right. That's trolling, blah, 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 blah. And then they ticket them. And ultimately, this new person has a completely different roleplay style, a completely different roleplay arc. And, nothing happens because, we want creativity, we want people doing things differently. And that's it. And it's a case of what we need to do is kind of educate people to the standard, but also kind of hold the older people accountable at the same time. Because if you've been around here, for example, since the start, and you're still pushing people over in Valentine thinking it's funny, or lassoing lawmen while running by, or instantly pulling your weapon and shooting someone because you want to win the scenario, then, too bad, too sad. I'm sure another server will take you at the end of the day. So it is all about education, but it's also about keeping the standard. So yeah, and what you're saying there, Monet, is exactly what we've realized is, at the end of the day, and it sounds really mean to say this, but your name and time on the server does not equate to much, really. And I don't mean that in like a nasty way. I just mean that if you've been here since day one and you're breaking rules, you're still going to be treated the same way as a new player. Like that's absolutely how it is. And I will go out of my way and say that we didn't really do this up until recently. There's a huge reform that we've done. And Charlie, I'm going to bring you in, but we're both quite proud of this. Is the standards of kind of handling stuff, and to be fair, actually, Jisk as well. Jisk is one of the new head of admins as well. Is kind of making sure that everyone's doing what they should be doing, rather than this person has been here long enough, so we can be a bit lenient, etc. So hang on to touch on Asper. It seems like consistency still exists. Let's have a look. Oak State at the CRM taking a backseat, but it feels like they're more involved than before. We're constantly pulled in tickets out of spite, and I say out of spite. The issue is, though, Abso, and I'm just going to turn around and say it, man, is it's your fellow role players that are pulling you into tickets first. It's not us going out of our way to go, actually, yeah, we saw this, we don't like it. It's your fellow role players that are role playing you guys or reporting you guys in the scenes for us to then bring you into a ticket. It's a mentality issue across the board of criminals, law, civilian role players, either losing in a scenario or something not going their way, that they're bringing you into the ticket. And at the end of the day, it's not just the CRM going out of their way to do it. And I know this because myself, Haley, and Inked are constantly looking at things that are getting brought to us, and we're just going, well, actually, the role play in this was fine. Yeah, there was a tiny rule break, but deal with it, suck it up, and move on. So I'm sorry to kind of sound really harsh with that one. In my personal opinion, it won't. People spam reporting you won't catch you getting banned at all. It's the fellow role players that are kind of bringing the issues to us and thinking that blah, 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 X, Y, Z is wrong. It caught fits, yeah, but let's be honest. Come on. Anyway. Let's have a quick look. Right, so moving on, because I could just talk about that question for ages, but I will just say that consistency and accountability is across the board, and it is, as I say, a mentality issue between players, not just staff bringing people in, because that very rarely happens. So this one's for developers. Out of curiosity, how's the search for more developers going?
Yes, so as you see, we brought in Dan, so that's the first big kind of acquisition, if you would call it that. We have had multiple developer applications come through. As always, we kind of like to hold a relatively high standard. We have made some offers to people, but just whether or not it works out, with the formalities coming into the end of it. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we advertise it enough. If anyone here can develop, and I know people can, and they want to help out, maybe make some extra money or whatever else. But if they play Ranch and want to really push the server forward, throw in a developer application, even if you don't think you're the greatest at one particular thing. We want jacks of all trades, so to speak.
That's what happened with me. I kind of just played the server, and then all of a sudden I ended up getting involved with all of it. And I know there's a few people out there that have the sort of similar talents that I do, and they want to get involved. And it's just a case of just putting your name in the hat,
Yeah. Exactly. Just if you're interested, throw in a developer application. It's on the website. It's under applications. Shows what you have, and you might fit the trade, and we can bring you on. But yeah, let's try and maybe speed run the rest of these questions, because I know Jisk is probably dying.
Oh, he's falling asleep.
I caught myself falling asleep in the gym before.
Yeah, so Oaks, if you can speed run the rest of the questions. Hello?
Yeah, sure. No, sorry, I was muted. I was just
That's all right.
Snapchatting. Sorry. My apologies. Right, so what's the current priorities to be fixed from the devs? So the biggest one is obviously criminal updates. That's the major one. And then next is ranching. So in terms of this, a lot of smaller quality of life fixes from the lovely Leo himself are on the way. So just keep suggesting small little things, even little things like this item should stack, or I should be able to do this with this item, or like a certain horse should be able to do, like little things like that. Kind of what we're looking for in terms of quality of life. We want to make your roleplay life so much easier. So please feel free to do so. So in terms of that, what are management views on flags for illegal factions? I personally think they're bad for roleplay overall and be removed. I completely disagree. I think flags are a really good way to kind of push people towards specific factions. It allows a market to develop, and it allows competition to kind of flourish over them. We are looking into adding more flags with the criminal updates. We are looking for ways to kind of have them taken from you in roleplay, and kind of develop a conflict management that does go really well, rather than just have them being taken away because you've been really bad criminal role players, blah, blah, blah. So in terms of this, the way that they're handed out is a lot more different now. So in terms of you official and unofficial, we've completely abolished that system. It's still in the works for the player who asked this. I think it's Bo as well, who's in the chat. It is very, very strenuous work that we're trying to figure out what to do with flags. But I personally think it's a lot better having them, because ultimately, how else would they get distributed? We don't want to have you go to a warehouse, click 3 buttons, and suddenly you have criminal items. It's not really the right way, because ultimately that just doesn't force player on player interaction, whereas flags and so forth do. Can there be more done with them? Yes, and I think that's what we're looking at for. Next one, how does Rev determine inactivity in a business? Charlie, I will read your flag note on this, but obviously feel free to shut me up. But business and property ownership is limited, and as such, activity is tracked via the admin tools that we have. So we can see when you can log on, how long, and so on and so forth. And because obviously the businesses, properties, and so forth are very limited, there's only so many spaces on the map that we can utilize well. From an econ standpoint, we think that people who can't, players who don't have a lot of time to commit should really just be employed rather than owning a business. So in terms of inactivity, we generally look at activity statistics from the admin panel, and also kind of word of mouth in game as well. Revenue's kind of going through a little bit of a shake up. I've been very lazy with it myself, but we're looking at kind of ensuring that it's a better system for everybody involved, and so that you can kind of see where you are on the marginal line, so to speak. So if you've got a timeline of your business, we can kind of update the timeline on there to show you whereabouts you are, and that's where the warnings and kind of inactivity seizures and so on and so forth are coming in as well. Unless you have anything else, Charlie?
Yeah, so typically how it works right now is if you have limited to no activity for 3 weeks, then you'll get a seizure warning. And then at 1 month of limited to no activity, your business will be seized. There's also a seizure for failure to pay your loan. There are plenty of avenues that you can reach out to get loan assistance. If you don't do that and you don't pay your loan, your business will be seized. Seizing a business also comes with a lot of in-character role play. So it's not that we are taking away all of your toys. It's a in-character consequence from in-character actions. So that is something that I would like you guys to remember as we go through the seizures. There's only so many properties that we have, and only so many businesses that we can allow from both a space standpoint and an econ standpoint. So we have to keep a close eye on that.
Awesome. So with the steeper inclining population, is there a chance for voice interviews to weed out some of the poorer role players? No. I personally think voice interviews, our staff do enough as it is. Okay, I'm not gonna spin, but the amount of things that our staff members have to do is ridiculous some days. Like, they'll wake up and there's loads of things to do. You know, the whitelist applications, one week we had 97 whitelist applications. The next week we had like 124. You know, it's a very stressful job for them as it is. And, you know, it's a volunteer position. They shouldn't have to take time out of their day to do voice interviews as well. So no, honestly, we're looking at reworking the whitelist anyway. I think that's going to be the better way to kind of weed things out. So no, unfortunately not. We want our staff to be able to play the game rather than, you know, moderating it constantly. So since the addition of quick suggestions, there's been a truckload of suggestions from the community, especially very good ones. How do we know as a community which ones are being added in by management and which aren't? So this one would probably be for Leo and Golden, but I personally think the best way that we can do it is just kind of add it to our roadmap and just put, you know, this is what we like, you know, this may be worked on, etc., etc. But I'll open the floor to those two real quick.
Right, so can you repeat the question quickly?
Yeah, sure. So the question is, since the addition of quick suggestions on Discord, there has been a lot of good suggestions from the community. How do we know as a community which ones are being taken in by management and which ones aren't? It would be nice to know which suggestions are being used and heavily considered on paper somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
go on.
I'll quickly jump in since it pertains to quality of life. Mainly what will happen is obviously you'll have the votes. If it is a quick suggestion, and I mean, like, you know, only take 15-20 minutes to implement, Shally will likely collate quite a lot of those, send them to me and Golden, or, you know, the management chat that we have, and then we'll start implementing the ones that are reasonable enough to push into a quality of life update. Of course, if things need discussion in terms of economic updates, that will go to Gramps Grady. He'll discuss it with his team, and it will kind of flow in that direction. To know if your implementation gets implemented, you know, you'll see it on the changelog. It's super hard. You know how many quick suggestions there are. It will be hard to, like, individually get back and say, yes, we'll do this one, or no, we
There's only so much time in the day, and we are working on stuff. We're always working on things that we've been wanting to work on for months, and if we had a roadmap, it would lead to 2050. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think the best thing to say as well, to be rest assured, is it's been looked at a lot. Like, I can tell you from my point of view, I'm looking at it daily. I'm trying to respond to people, like, if it, like, sort of goes into my ballpark. I know that, you know, everyone here is looking at that daily and taking notes of it. So, like, don't think that, like, your thing gets skipped over, because it definitely does get looked at.
Yeah. I think what we could do in the future as well is, if we kind of take an idea from somebody, like in the quick suggestions, just when we do an update in the development, we just say, you know, thanks to XYZ for suggesting this, you know, like that kind of thing. That way, you know, people know that they're being heard, and it kind of shows the community that, you know, they're the ones who are bringing these ideas up as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can start doing that for sure.
Awesome. I just saw one with Guama. Yeah, Guama is definitely something, you know, we want to bring back. You know, there's a lot more areas. I think for Golden's Golden's doing a World of Warcraft style boat, which is cool as hell. I always love the idea of that. So
I was having some issues, but I mean, we'll get that figured out. I'm not sure that won't be coming in this update, to be honest, but maybe shortly after. Or maybe we'll need to have it in this update for the drug system and manufacturing process. Maybe you'll have to get our boat out to Guam for part of it. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
So I just want to touch on this. Sheepshank, DM me if you want something to do with a law team. I'm trying to collate a big list. I need a user group thing added to the wiki. I don't know if that's been added yet, but long story short is I want to basically give you guys full control of the law in Monroe, establish such a deep and enriching environment, so that it'll be really good. so that we can really say, you know, these things have happened, and incorporate big gangs and big groups and big lore figures, and, you know, even just kind of touching on the history of Monroe. Like it's there. I've got Vopo, bless him, and a couple of others in an Oak secret wiki channel, but it's very hard to kind of give you guys control of the wiki without giving you guys control of certain pages. So I'll speak with Leo, and we'll try and limit that, because he's big security man.
To be honest, the wiki software sucks so bad. We have like 90,000 spam accounts on it, and it's honestly horrific. Ideally, we would just change software, but again, priorities lay within a certain order, so we will get to it.
Just to quickly add on, like, in character lore, because I love in character lore. You guys know there is a Crim wall of, I guess it's been called the Wall of Shame, to remember all those old characters that, you know, really left an impact on the Crim side. Stuff like that. I like. Me personally, I love to include all that sort of stuff, like the statue and stuff like that. And some people even suggested like a wall of fame for, like, you know, starred lawmen. That's something that I'm potentially looking at doing in the future. But I love lore, so from my point of view, I'm always trying to, you know, implement that the best I can in my ability.
You beautiful man.
Mm.
So, are you ever going to implement other time-appropriate drugs such as cocaine, morphine? Yeah, we touched on that one in terms of something, but also the house robbery question that's been floating around as suggestions for a while. I personally love the idea of house robberies. I think it's such a great idea. I think one of the main things is kind of making sure that it works. I don't think we've really discussed it too much. I could be wrong. I may have missed a discussion here and there. But for me personally, I think the idea of it being like a randomized thing, or of like an item in a storage, and, you know, when you search it, it kind of like you search something in the house, it tells you if you find it, etc. Like a dice roll, like D&D style or some shit. But yeah, I don't know the full development. That's up to these two.
We did talk about that a little bit, but the biggest issue with that system, exactly. The biggest issue with that system is the moment you give people access to people's properties, they're just gonna yoink everything up. They just can't. People can't help.
Blue goblins.
When they see a prompt for like with a name on it, they just press it and they just grab everything they can, and it's obviously people that do that are gonna get banned, and we'll deal with them, and we'll try and put the items back if they're just literally just grabbing stuff and not role playing. Of course, but it's we'll be opening up a whole world of it if we have something like that. So we have to figure that out.
Isaiah just suggested a cool idea: NPC properties. Maybe.
I think all the all the properties are taken up. Yeah,
there needs to be roleplay like surrounding it as well at the same time. Yeah, not just hey, let's go rob a house because LOL.
Yeah.
Awesome. So speedrunning. Are there any plans to help with the known and ongoing issue with diseased animals? Diseased animals, I know the term now thanks to Charlie explaining to me before this meeting. It's just a OneSync issue. There's not really much we can do with that until OneSync kind of updates itself, and, you know, there's a lot more open avenues for us to explore with that. Unfortunately, there isn't really a lot we can do, I'm afraid. It's completely out of our hands. What plans are to add consumable items to state economy? As it stands, all new items, cosmetic, one-time purchases are bought for a short period of time, and then it's just been clutter. I don't really think there is anything.
One.
Yeah, I don't follow that one either. I don't really think there is anything to drive growth. I think every player themselves are the ones that kind of drive growth, and items and so forth that come with them should always be kind of from the mindset of our players, not us to turn around and say that this is, you know, driving forward. So I understand what you mean by this, though, you know, like priority perks and kind of like furniture items and so on and so forth. They do eventually just kind of lose the novelty and such like that. But do we have plans to inject more? Not really, no. The second one, should conflict roleplay be required if you are an official CRM faction? Too many times now factions just conflict with us, but then don't roleplay conflicts out of fear of losing. So this is something that CRM have touched on, and if you're in the CRM Discord, we're actually going to be opening a thread relating to something like this as well soon. I think a lot of people, it goes back to what I said earlier, a lot of people just kind of need to understand the conflict that they're generating. If you're going to start conflict with a faction, and you're the ones who aggressors, but the defenders ultimately overwhelm you, just take the loss. Like, taking a loss isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, I feel like a lot of people kind of still roll with that. Every roleplay scene should be a win-loss. You know, it shouldn't. It should be what can develop from this. You know, ultimately, if I don't know, my group of 5 attacks Golden's group of 6, and Golden's group of 6 wins, but I'm the one who attacked. I should be ultimately suing for peace. I should be the one who's sitting people down and going, hey man, like, maybe we were wrong. Here's some money, or maybe this is thing, or vacate the area and move on. Like, a lot of people seem to think that they have to win constantly, whereas taking losses is awesome. Like, I'd love to see a huge faction of like 15 people who ultimately lose 5 skirmishes in a row, sue for peace, and then move to another area where they become a dominant factor. Like these little things should be so beautifully handled, but it's just a mentality thing, unfortunately. So it's not required, no. There's no really requirement to conflict, but at the same time, it is ultimately a shooty game at the end of the day, and conflict is going to arise eventually. So if you, as long as you do it. Like you'll if you do it correctly, you're gonna end up with much better stories than, I had a shootout with 5 people, and now here I am in a ticket. It should just be a case of, oh, we lost, moving on.
Let's maybe do like one, 2 questions more.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe Jessica's fallen asleep.
Sorry,
and then the rest,
I'm here.
the rest of the questions that we've not answered, we'll just send you a response if we can find your Discord, because we have the responses written out here. Yeah.
Awesome. So there's a lot of criminal drug questions. So I'm just going to skip through them because I feel like we're just going to be talking about ourselves. Can there be dot days for shooting? A lot of new people, it's hard to learn to use. No, we have the crosshair removed for a reason. Let's see. I think most of these are just kind of like criminal ones and such. So I can pass a lot of these off to CRM to pass to the groups. So I think we don't really need to answer these from a management point of view. If I'm honest, I think CRM can do a fine job of handling these. So I'm going to pick.
There is going to be another community meeting as well, so there can be questions there as well. I believe Shally said that she was going to do one.
So I'm going to pick this last one here. I know it's highly demanded, but I never got an actual response from management. Are we ever going to see decals, clothing, or hair that exist on pets in-game? I'm pretty sure it's possible because we've seen the SDPD uniforms. So we are kind of looking into this already. Like, Golden puts a lot of time into kind of figuring this out. So I will pass the question to him, but just before I do, the main reason that we're doing it by ourselves, and you see other servers with them, and other servers are not flourishing for using them, but other servers are using them and people are happy with them. We really don't want to implement other people's stuff because there's a huge coding issue that kind of goes into it. Like you saw with the stairs, for example, with Dan, there's coding behind making sure that stairs work. There's going to be coding that makes dresses work. There's going to be coding that makes certain hairstyles work and such. And we want to make sure that it's our code. It's not malicious code, ultimately that has like a backdoor injected into it or something like that, eventually turns the server off because we downloaded somebody's dress pack to make the girls happy. So it is being worked on. It's not really a priority thing, but it's a case of figuring it out and making it work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get MLOs and stuff like that if it's what we want, but we can't be taking encrypted files and running them on the server and yeah. But to answer the question,
even the MLOs we're having issues with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But to answer the question, it will be coming. At some point, there's no date. Obviously, it's not going to be in the next update. Probably won't be in the ranching update either. Potentially it will be, but obviously we can do it. We have the technology. We've done it for the uniforms. It's just setting up all of the different, pieces. Because the way it works when you're handling ped clothes, you have different components. You have the drawable, which is what you see, the mesh. You have textures that you have to apply to it. You have metal maps and different things to control the shininess of it, and you have to get all these right, and you have to collect them. It's a manual job to collect them, and it's a pretty big system to make, and it's going to take some time. But to answer the question, it will be coming, but we don't know when. It's not
filed over.
Yeah, maybe like 1.1 or 1.0 possibly.
Awesome.
All right, if you have asked questions in the chat, I did get those questions and add them to our sheet, which we will be publishing when I'm not tired.
Yes, we are all exhausted.
I'm not. I'm wide awake, boys.
Jess's daughter wakes up in 2 hours and probably needs to take her to school and be a dad.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting to be doing this either.
No, I wasn't. Shelly,
Big up
I
for
asked
Jess.
Shelly if are you guys being secretive, and she said join, and then I joined, and then I think Leo goes, "Yeah, you're gonna stream this, right?" I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I guess so.
I guess so.
W's in the chat for Jess. Big W.
And big up, Jisk.
Big W. Anyway, but yeah, we'll wrap this up. The VOD of this will go up live. I think it's up live just now. I'm going to download it. We'll put it on YouTube, and I think, Shally, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to have another EU-friendly
Yep. So
kind
I'm
of
just
catch-up meeting.
Yep, it's really just going to be more Q&A to give the EU folks that didn't stay up till this time to be able to ask their questions and speak to management. I think
Yeah.
Bird said he was going to come in and help me with that one, since
Sorry, you guys.
Oaks is working and Golden is busy, and Leo, if you want to come too, you can.
And yeah, so thanks to everyone for joining. Thanks to Oaks and Shally for kind of leading the way. Dan, Golden, Jisk for spreading the words of development and podcasting. Bird and Benny for hopping on, bit of LFM. Yeah, as we mentioned, communication, working with the community, doing some more podcasts, streaming some mapping, getting feedback. We're going to open up some polls soon so people can kind of vote on more stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we're kind of doing at the moment. And it all lies in one big priority list that needs to be chopped through top to bottom. So some of the stuff that you might really want might not lie high on our priority, but rest assured it is on there and we will get to it. And that counts both on the community side and the development side. So yeah, overall, the kind of first big community meeting back, I think the community in general is in a really good state. There's a lot to look forward to. And yeah, you guys are great. So thank you so much. If anyone else wants to do the farewells, you can do so.
Toodaloo.
Goodbye.
See you later.
We are
Thank you so much for attending.
going to raid a channel.
raiding? Ooh.
So if you can join the raid,
Don't leave or you're banned. If you leave, you're banned.
Join the raid, support this Ranch streamer. We always love what the content creator community does for Ranch. So join, hit the follows, and we will be back again for the next community meeting, hopefully every month or so. And
we'll
have
a
a great
mini
night.
one on Saturday.
Yeah, a little mini stream, and then Jess will be on Sunday. Don't forget tomorrow, Lazy Buzzard is interviewing Steve J. Palmer. So
Technically
you can
2
go...
days.
Huh?
It's tomorrow for us because it's past midnight now, right? But it's 2 days.
It's 28th. 28th at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. EST on Lazy Buzzard's channel. Go and connect to it. It will be a great time. But yeah, any more shout outs?
Yeah. Big shout out to DeLuca and Bloody Dammit. Sorry, I forgot her in-game name because they're gonna be on the podcast Sunday. Monette. Sorry, I'm very tired. Sorry, I'm very, very tired.
Monet.
Join the raid.
No, it's not Monet. It's Monette with a T.
It's not Monet.
No, Monette with a T. Monette. She can't do anything basic.
Shout out to Chris for being
night,
old.
folks. Goodbye. See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, well then.